Hello guys, in this video we are going to talk about Django apps, views and Django template. In our previous video we installed Django, but in case you have not looked at it, you can look it here. So what are Django apps? We can take Django apps like this, an example of a Django app. This also serves as a Django app. This page serves as Django apps. So this is an example of Django apps. So how do you create your first Django app? To create your first Django app, you run python manage.py and then start app, and this one will be the name of that app. So mine, I'm going to call it personal and then press enter. And once I press enter, my first Django app has already been created. So let's go to our files and see if we can get that Django app. So I'm going to go to my site, then I can see this Django app here that has already been created. So what next? The next thing is now creating our first physical website that we can see and we can interact with. So I'm going to run this with my Visual Studio Code and then create Django views and also Django templates. But what are Django views? Django views are basically Python functions that take HTTP request and also return response like HTML documents. So our main aim here is to return an HTML document. So how do we go about that? So the first thing that we are going to do is first create our Django app that we have already created. Then the next thing is going to our setting and then register our app. Where is our settings? We go to our settings here in my site, then go to our settings here, then you have installed apps, and then here you record or you register your app. My app is basically this personal, and then I'm going to register my personal. That's my app, then comma, so that it can follow the syntax, and that we have registered our first app. So what do we have in our app or in our personal app here? We have views where we are going to create views, and we have other Python files here. And what do we have in our site? Here we have our URLs where we are going to add our URLs or our links to our websites. Then we also have settings where we are going to do all the necessary settings. So after writing the Django views, so what next? The next thing, we are going to create templates. And where do you create these templates? These templates I'm going to create here, and I'm going to call these templates. And then in our template is where we are going to create our HTML file, and our HTML file here, we can call it base.html. Then here we are going to create a simple HTML document and say this is my first app, first Django app. And then I'm going to write a statement here. They say, hello world, this is my first app. And after creating this, we need also to register the templates inside our settings. So inside our settings, we are going to register our app. We are going to basically register our app. So where do you register our app? We are going to register our app here in this directory. So we are going to register our app in the base directory. That is the base directory, this one here, that we are going to just type the base directory here. So now after creating our Django app or our first website here, now we are going to register that into our settings. So where do you register to your settings? You go to your settings, the templates, then here you are going to type OS. I'm just going to paste and explain. Then the OS operating system.path.join. then the base directory, and the base directory is this base directory that is going to link to our files, and then identify these templates and then link this base HTML file here. So after registering that, and then this is the name of the folder that we are trying to register. Then after that, make sure that you import the OS in case it has not been imported by default. So how do you import the OS? You basically import OS like that, and then you save. So what next after there before we run our application? The next thing is now creating your views. So your views, you are going to go to the personal, then inside the views, this is where we are going to create the views. Now, how do you create these views? We are going to define, you can define home screen. Then here we are going to have a parameter that is the request. Then we are going to, I'm going to print something here, and then we are going to check at the output, and that is the request dot headers. We are going to see what is the request dot headers when we log that output. So here I'm going to return, I'm also going to return and then render. Then render what? I'm going to render the request. I'm going to render the request and then the file that I want to render, and in our case is the base.html. Base.html, and then here we are going to add the context that we are not going to add at this point. So after now you create your views. What's next? The next thing that we are going to do is import the URLs, and the URLs is here in my site. So in my URL here, I'm going to import that URL. Then this is how you import from the personal this here personal app that we created dot views. Remember, in our personal we created the views, and this is the views that we created. Now you want to use that views here, or to import it here. From views import, from views import import the home screen, and remember the home screen is this home screen here that we have defined here. So now, because now we have imported, now let's make sure that we register here in our path. So here, because it's the home page of that file, I'm going to leave it as default so that we won't route to any file. So, and then here I'm going now to render the home screen. I'm going to render the home screen like that. Then here we are going now to try our app. We are going to test our app. So let's go to our terminal here, and then make sure that we activate our virtual environment. So let's check at which point are we in our file. So I'm going to go step behind, and then I'm going to do cd dot dot, then I'm going to ls and check where we need to render. So I'm going to run the script, then slash activate my virtual environment. Then after that I'm going to cd to my site, or change directory to my site. Then I'm going to start my app. How do you start your app? Do python manage.py run server, run server, and then we run our server here. Then after we run our server, now we can see the output. Let's click here and see if we are getting any output, and that's how we have created our first output. Now let's go back to our code and see something here. In the views, remember we logged the request.headers. Once we refresh, let's go to our terminal, and now we can see these prints. These are the headers that have been printed out, and the headers we are talking about. So in the next video, we are going to continue creating our app. So thank you. See you in the next one.